Say Ken Doherty is with us. Ken, good morning to you. How are you?
Morning. How are you? You okay?
I'm going to start with a Man United question. Sorry, I have to. Whose side were you on in the fight between Fernandes and Lindelof?
I didn't actually see the fight, to be honest, because I couldn't see the rest of the second half. I only saw the first half up to and then maybe about 10 minutes of the second half, so I didn't actually see what happened at all. So
bit of handbags.
I'm sure if I was probably up for anybody, I probably would have been up for Fernandes, even though I didn't see it. What happened?
Lindelof and several others were at fault for the winning goal for Sevilla, and Fernandes decided that was the precise moment that he needed to start screaming at Lindelof, and Lindelof gave it back to him, in fairness.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I didn't see it, Jay, so sorry about that.
That's all right. You're pulling an Arsene Wenger on me, Ken. It's okay.
Yeah.
Ronnie O'Sullivan was in magnanimous mood last night, saying that all those young lads that he was giving out about last week, they're good. They're not that bad.
Well, let's see. He must have been listening to us, Jared. You see, a much better interview, even after the final, was fantastic. You know, and they're the type of interviews you want to hear, you know, not the other stuff, you know. And I thought he was absolutely brilliant. The final was brilliant up to a point. I mean, it was a bit of an anticlimax in the end, but up to a point, particularly on the Saturday, was very, very good. And then the beginning of the Sunday. But then once he got to, got to 10-8 at one stage. And then once it got to 11-8, 12-8, he just took off. You know, he's one of the best front runners that we've ever had in the game. And just got his confidence back from somewhere, because he was really rocking right up to 10-8, and Karen Wilson put it up to him. But in the end, he was just way too good. I mean, he's won 6 World Championships now, and he's just absolutely on the table. He's the best that we've ever had, the most talented for sure, and a genius, and brilliant to watch, you know, absolutely brilliant.
It's amazing how the final proved once again, Ken, how psychological a final and a high pressure scenario like this can be. That really on paper, it didn't look like there was too much between them, except when it really mattered. Karen Wilson passed up a few huge opportunities early yesterday and on Saturday night, and that's basically what it came down to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's amazing, because there's such small margins in any sport at the very top level. And he missed one red at the back behind the black on the Saturday night to make it 9-8 from 8-2, which would have put huge pressure on Ronnie going into Sunday. He missed that and gave Ronnie a little bit of an edge and a little bit of a gap to go 10-7. And there was a pinky miss right at the beginning in the first session on the Sunday afternoon, where it could have closed the gap to 10-9. And missed that as well. So and then the gap was bridged, and then Ronnie just sort of took off. But yeah, the margins are so small, you know. But I think Karen Wilson, even though he'd be probably deflated and dejected after the final by losing by such a margin, I think he will definitely come back stronger for it. You know, he'll be a future world champion. He'll be thereabouts again, you know.
Can you explain to us what the two players are thinking on Saturday night? Because they both looked absolutely exhausted, Ken.
They did.
Ronnie came out yesterday, new man, clean shaven and all that, but they looked like they hadn't slept at all on Friday night. Well,
they were shattered. I mean, the two semi-finals on the Saturday, and I know it's not a physical sport, but mentally it drains you, you know, and you do get physically drained from the mental exertion, and people may not understand that so much looking at snooker. But that's what happens, and that's what pressure does to you. And after both epic semi-finals, I mean, even part of that Saturday night, Ronnie's body language, I mean, I thought he was going to just like walk out at one stage. You know, it was quite incredible. We were watching him in his chair, and he looked completely disinterested. He was kicking his cue. He looked really bored. He couldn't wait to get out of the arena. And, you know, for Ronnie O'Sullivan, like he's done in the past, you know, you don't know what to expect from him. That's the electricity he sort of gives. But on the Sunday, he's clean shaven, completely up for it, a lot more focused, and played some fantastic snooker. I mean, the way he can sort of turn it off, turn it on, it's just incredible, you know, at such a high level.
I've got to say, I do think part of that conversation that we had last week, when it seemed like he was putting pressure, there was some game he was playing with himself.
Yeah.
I don't really think he thinks that much about the lower order players. And suddenly it's like, well, why am I doing this?
exactly.
Picking a fight to try and give himself something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think sometimes the interviews he comes off and he talks and, you know, it's like it's cringe or car crash sort of material, you know, that he doesn't. I don't know what he thinks about what he's going to say, or it just comes out, or he just wants to say something to grab attention. Maybe he does, or maybe he does just to fuel things up a little bit. You know, he's always gone against conformity. You know, there was a great story one of the referees told us about when he skipped a press conference and he got fined 250 quid, and he gave the tournament director 500 quid, and Paul Collier said to him, he says, Ronnie, there's 500 quid here. The fine was only 250. He says, I'm not turning up tomorrow either. Brilliant. But, you know, he's always gone against conformity. And sometimes the stuff that does come out of his mouth is like, you know, completely off the charts, you know. But last night, he was completely different. After the final, it was much more of a sort of a gentleman, a sort of an interview. Much better, and that's the type of Ronnie we want to see. We don't want to see him slagging off the game or slagging off players. I just that crossed the line with me. But everything else, listen, I'm one of his biggest fans on the table. He's brilliant for the game. He's brilliant to watch, and he is snooker's talisman for sure. You know.
Did not having fans this week until the final, did that have an impact? Did that help him? Because it's 7 years since he last won.
Yeah, actually, we were talking about that, and I think it did help him because he didn't like the hassle of there was no press there was no people outside, there was no people like chasing him down the road for interviews or autographs or looking for tickets. And I think actually that those first couple of weeks, I think it definitely helped him that he'd just go in there, just play snooker, and he could go and chill out without any hassle. And he said that a few times himself. But I mean, when the crowd is there, I mean, when you're playing Ronnie O'Sullivan, as I said before, it's like playing an away match because you know 90% of the crowd want him to win. Now there was a lot of love for Karen Wilson in the audience as well, you know. But he, you know, the first couple of weeks I think helped him a lot because over the 17 days it's a marathon at the Crucible, and Ronnie loses patience, and he has done over the last 6 or 7 years. This year he was different. And I thought he was superb in the end.
In terms of the all-time great, right? Like Hendry's obviously still one ahead of him.
Yeah.
Does it matter? Like it's a Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods conversation.
Yeah, but I think Hendry is still ahead of him at the World Championships. He's got 7. O'Sullivan's got 6, but O'Sullivan will win another one, I think. You know, and O'Sullivan's won more majors than him. He's won more Triple Crown events now. He's gone to 37 as opposed to Hendry's 36 and Davis is 28. I think O'Sullivan or Higgins is 35 or 34. So O'Sullivan's gone ahead in that regard. But I think, I think even Stephen Hendry regards him as the greatest ever player. I know he still has that 7 World Championship record, but I think Ronnie will come back probably next year or the year after and maybe win it again. You know, he's that good.
Was last Friday the greatest day you've ever seen at the Crucible, Ken?
Yeah, I mean the semi-finals, the semi-finals, both semi-finals, the Karen Wilson one and McGill, the last frame was one of the most dramatic, bizarre frames of snooker in the semi-final in the World Championship and in snooker generally that I think I've ever seen. I mean, 1985 was very dramatic and we all remember it. But this semi-final and the way it finished was incredible. And then, of course, you had Ronnie O'Sullivan against Mark Selby. I mean, Ronnie O'Sullivan during that semi-final had literally given up. You know, he'd thrown the towel in, and from somewhere he found some inspiration and came back to win the last 3 frames and absolutely, stunned Mark Selby and stunned the rest of us as well because we couldn't believe what we were seeing. You know, but it was fantastic, great viewing, great TV, and I think it was great for snooker generally because you know when we've had the lack of live sport during this COVID crisis, that I think everybody must have been glued to it. And I think, the figures both on BBC were huge and on Eurosport were huge as well. So everybody is a winner, you know. I
think it's mad because actually this week of football has been as good a week of football as anybody can actually ever remember. So you were kind of up against that and at the same time able to to stand toe to toe and draw people's attention in. So I think you're right. There's kind of like a reappraisal of everybody going, actually, this snooker is really brilliant, especially when Ronnie O'Sullivan is there.
Exactly. I mean, Ronnie, you know, he's made the headlines, and of course, a lot of people love to watch him, and he draws so many people and draws a lot of sort of debate about the good, the bad, or what's right and what's wrong, and that's good in a way, you know. And I think the fact that he was there made it as well, you know. And there was lots of great stories during the World Championship, but I think you're right. I mean, the 2 semi-finals as well were fantastic. And there were lots of great stories during the World Championship, but the fact that he was there certainly made it as well. There's no doubt about that. One
last thing about Ronnie and his greatness. You've obviously known him since he was a teenager. Like his longevity, you get super bonus points when it comes to conversations about greatness if you can be great in 3 separate decades, because like as you talked about, the mental pressure. When you saw him as a teenager, did you think this is a talent that could burn out, that we've seen so many people burn out with, or did you think actually this guy's here for the long haul?
Well, I mean, I remember the first time I saw him when I went over to. I mean, his father used to send a taxi for me to go and practice with him down the bottom of his garden when he was only about 12. You know, so I always tell people, you know, I used to beat O'Sullivan every day. You know, 10-1, 10-2. Now he was only 12 at the time, but it still counted in my book. You know. But no, even at I mean, he was making century breaks at 10. You know, at 12 and 13, he was making 147. For me, as an 18, 19-year-old, he was still a great practice partner for me, you know. And I thought he had a time where he sort of went off the rails a little bit, and I was a little bit concerned about him, you know, particularly when his father went to jail and his mother went to jail for a short time. And that could have thrown anybody, you know. So, but he came back, and for all that he says he's one of the hardest workers on the tour as well. So, and he's always looking to, I mean, spoke about cue action, but he's always trying to improve, you know, and that's, and of course he's so talented. But the fact of his longevity, as you said, makes him so special, you know.
So he will be back, you think? You think that this isn't the end? He's not going to...
No, I mean, he's threatened a few times, and but he's always come back. At the end of the day, no matter how much he might sort of give out about the game or people, or even the youngsters in it that should be amateurs, he still loves the game dearly, for sure. You know, I don't know how long he's going to be around for, but you know, he could still be around when he's 50 and still playing. You never know. We hope so, because overall, I think he's brilliant for the game, you know.
Well, I think he
don't like his interviews. Just don't like his interviews, yeah.
One every so often is grand, because then everybody's like, oh, I forgot, we got to turn on Ronnie tonight.
Most of them are quite funny, actually, you know. But you know, the only one with me was like slagging off the players. That just sort of that could accord with me, you know.
Yeah, fair enough. Ken, good stuff. Go off and have a look and see what happened between Lindelof and Fernandez.
Yeah, I'll have to go and watch it now.